He likes that. Dallas gets the 2-point victory. Man, but Steph Curry, this is his 16th career game with 10 or more threes made. That is the most in NBA history. He finishes with 57 points. He already had 62. 3D, you mentioned it. Steph Curry's back. We're going to talk about that momentarily. However, the team that wins, they get the walk-off. So we hear from Luka the Don, who had 42, 7, and 11.
Luka,
So we see these Dallas Mavericks kind of make up for that major L that they took. They gave up, 140 plus the other day, just a couple of days ago on Thursday, to these same Golden State Warriors. However, we saw that the performance that Steph Curry put on was ridiculous. However, we had two players go over 50 points on this day. However, both players took the L. But let's focus on the Dallas Mavericks right now. We talked about teams earlier, if you were paying attention, teams in the Western Conference that were hot in the bubble, and some haven't necessarily been as hot coming into the season. And Zeke, starting with you, looking at Luka, and we've had conversations offline about how dominant we think that Luka can be along with KP, but they've struggled so far this season. What's it going to take for them to come back around to get back to that team that we saw playing so well in the bubble?
I think the growth and maturation of Luka, just like we're watching with Trae Young, these two, they definitely know how to put up numbers. But now do they know how to win? And do they know how to make the sacrifices to win? Do they know how to make their teammates better? And tonight what we saw was a big step by Luka, where so many nights he's felt like he had to take the last shot to win the basketball game. And, you know, we have a media influence right now that tells players that, hey, you got to take the last shot, even if it's a bad shot, because we can live with you taking a bad shot. That's not necessarily true. What Luka did tonight showed me that he's growing and that he's starting to understand his influence on the game with his players. Last play of the game, he makes a pass to the corner. They knock down the three. They win the basketball game, as opposed to him taking a bad three-point shot, missing it, and we living with a loss. Luka's growing, and I like seeing his growth.
3D, your thoughts on Luka's growth as well. I mean, Zeke touched on it, and I wanted to ask this question earlier in crunch time because it seems like he has so much responsibility on his shoulders this season. It's rare that we see a player having a high usage number. And I don't want to get too much into analytics, but just watching him having to basically run the offense every single play, that doesn't happen, at least from my experience watching players. Is there too much on his shoulders right now for the Mavericks?
No, I think it's time for Rick Carlisle to get a little more creative. And I think that's what Steve Kerr has done with the system in Golden State. If you go back to early Steph Curry days, when he was having those ankle problems, he had the ball a lot more in his hands. You remember early in Steph Curry's career where, you know, Keith Smart didn't have Steph Curry on the floor in the fourth quarter.
Right.
See, people forget about those days where Steph Curry had to work to get to where he is today. And then Steve Kerr said, you know what, Steph? I'm going to take the ball out of your hands at times and let you run around crazy and create that chaos that we've seen now the last 5 years, right?
Right.
That's what we saw again tonight. So now Steph's able to mix it up, come across half court, let it go. In the last play of the game, he drives all the way to the basket and gets an old-fashioned and one. So what I'm saying, people at home, and Zeke and you, Ro, is that, Rick, let someone else bring the ball up from time to time. Even Frank Vogel did it in the finals. Caruso, you bring the ball up. LeBron, you get downhill. Now we could come to you. Now you're attacking the defense 15, 16 seconds on the shot clock. Now what do? That's what I'm saying, Zeke, that Rick Carlisle has to tweak a few things. Luka, we know you're going to have the ball. We want the ball in your hands, but you don't have to bring it up every time down the floor. A little tweak, that's all I'm asking.
A little tweak here and there. That's what we want to see. If you're a Dallas fan, you want to see them get more victories. Well, we're keeping it crunchy. We had crunch time earlier. We're going to keep that theme going. We have live basketball. We're going to bring to you the Pelicans.
How's it? It's SportsCenter. We're in Los Angeles. He's Stan. I'm Neil. An entertaining game between the Nets and Raptors, but one that led to a whole lot of questions about Kevin Durant. Out, in, out.
Yeah, he was all of that Friday night in Brooklyn at different times. Coming off the bench for the first time in his career, he finished with more fouls than buckets for the first time in his career. We'll try to sort it all out with Adrian Wojnarowski in just a minute. We'll break down the action with Paul Pierce. But first, let's check out the highlights. Durant out of the starting lineup. The NBA said someone who had contact with him earlier Friday had an inconclusive test, but then he was cleared to play and came off the bench in the first quarter. His first time coming off the bench in 867 games. Bruce Brown inbounding, gets it to Durant for an easy dunk, and then James Harden to Durant. Fadeaway jumpers working. Nets still down 8, though. About a minute later, Nets down 9. Harden swings it to Durant for the three-pointer. Durant had 8 points in the first half. Nets trailed 67-63. His streak of 166 games in double figures ended because early in the third quarter, during a review of a foul call, Durant informed by a Nets employee that he's been deemed ineligible to play in the game after initially not being able to start the game. The person who came in contact with him returned a positive test. So now back to the action. 2:35 to go. Raptors down 1. Pascal Siakam shot 12 for 23. Raptors with a 1-point lead. Buck 35 to go. Siakam. Raptors go up 3, looking for a third straight win. Time winding down in the third, game tied at 90. Siakam got a big size advantage of Kyrie Irving and just muscles him. Siakam 15 in the third quarter, 33 for the game. Raptors by 2. Fourth quarter now. Raptors down 4. Kyrie Irving handling it. Siakam takes it away from him, pushes it ahead to Kyle Lowry. Monster game from Kyle Lowry. 6 of 9 from three-point range for him. Then later with the Raptors down 2, Lowry finished with 30. And as Lowry was pouring it on, Durant tweeting, "Free me." And the Raptors up 1, just over 3 minutes to go. Lowry, it was Fred VanVleet last game for Toronto with a scoring outburst. This time it's Lowry. Under 2 minutes to go, the Raptors up 3. Norman Powell, they'll get it around to VanVleet. He was 1 for 9 from 3, had just 11 points after the 54 on Tuesday. But the Raptors win it 123-117. Here's Adrian Wojnarowski on Durant.
There was an associate of Kevin Durant, someone who he had spent time with and had been around earlier today, who returned an inconclusive test for the coronavirus this afternoon. Initially, the Nets and the league pulled him about 15 minutes before tip-off, but because the test was inconclusive, the league allowed him to go back into the game shortly after tip-off, and then when that individual later in the evening returned a positive test, then Kevin Durant was pulled out of the game. I'm told now he will not travel with the Nets to Philadelphia. The Nets play the Sixers on Saturday night there. And now Kevin Durant goes back into contact tracing.
Oh boy, contact tracing. Durant matched up with 9 different Raptors in the half court on Friday. His proximity to those players varied, but Pascal Siakam and Stanley Johnson saw a lot of Durant in his 19 minutes of floor time. Durant was also seen talking to referees up close throughout the game, and it doesn't help that he shared a locker room with all of his teammates either, so this could be a conundrum now for Brooklyn. Here's James Harden.
That's frustrating, especially, we follow the protocols, we get tested, every single day. So I don't understand the whole thing where he couldn't play, and then he came on the court, and then they took him back. It's just a lot going on. It's too much going on. It's kind of overwhelming. The game should have been postponed. I feel like if we're talking about contact tracing, he was around all of us. So I don't understand why he wasn't allowed to play, and then was able to play, and then took back off the court. If that was the case, we should have just postponed the game.
If somebody tests negative, and then they test negative again, then again, I don't see the sense of sitting that person because of, what they see somewhere else, I guess. If you're negative, you should be able to play.
As promised, Paul Pierce here with us. So, Paul, the COVID situation is what it is. The players don't have any control over whether they're able to play or not able to play. But then once that situation is determined, then they have to find a way to make it work. How did this affect Brooklyn?
Well, it really affected them because, for one, you had Kevin Durant initially out the game, so the players mentally are getting ready to play without Kevin Durant. Then he comes to the bench, He comes in the game. I really think it threw off their rhythm tonight. And then for him to go in the game and then come out, it just seemed like they didn't have a rhythm all night, especially Kyrie. I think it affected him the most.
Yeah, I mean, that's 31 points a game that you're not going to have, that you have to find from somewhere else, and there's just no real replacement for Kevin Durant. he really wasn't much of a factor until the end. What was going on there?
Well, I really think he had his hands full with Kyle Lowry pretty much all night. And Pascal Siakam, he was caught guarding both of them guys. I think it really, wore him down on defense to where he didn't really have enough of them on the offensive end.
You see Irving's numbers. They need more than that from him if Durant's not going to be out there.
I mean, he turned the ball over 7 times. But what's mind-boggling, he only took 1 shot in the fourth quarter, and we know that's not Kyrie Irving we're used to seeing. But look, you got to give credit to Toronto. They did a great job defensively on him, too.
All right, so now let's quickly talk about the Raptors. I mean, slow start for them at the beginning of the season, not at home in Toronto, playing down in Florida, in Tampa, making adjustments. But do they have it together now to become a contender in the East again?
Well, it sure is looking like it. Lowry tonight, Van Vliet the other night, Pascal Siakam. They need these guys to be on each and every night for the lack of depth that they don't have due to losing Gasol, due to losing Ibaka.
Right.
They don't have the guys from that championship team. So these guys, they're the veterans of that ball club. They got to play well for them every night for them to make the playoffs.
All right. Stay right there. You stay right there, too. We got a new segment coming up. The Truth or False with Paul Pierce. First, Neil with some more highlights.